The Lenovo Tab P12 is a really exciting 12.7-inch mid-range tablet that offers a high-resolution display, solid performance, an active stylus, and an optional keyboard cover. Prices start at €399 in Europe and under $400 in the US, which is pretty cheap for a 12-inch tablet. In this review, you learn how good it really is. And before we start, let's take a look at the prices and the competition. The Lenovo Tab P12 costs under $400, which includes a pen, and you can also get a bundle with the keyboard, which is a bit more expensive. There's also the Lenovo Tab P12 Pro, which I tested last year. It's a better premium tablet, but that is also reflected in the price of currently around $700. As a competitor, there is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 FE with stylus, which still costs a proud $489, and that's despite it's already being 2 years old. In this review, I will also compare it every now and then to the Lenovo Tab P11 Gen 2, which is a bit smaller but even cheaper at $265 currently. The design of the Lenovo Tab P12 is very similar to the P12 Pro and P11 Pro Gen 2. It has a high quality look and feel thanks to the metal body. At 6.9mm, it's quite thin, and the large display makes it look even thinner than it is. It weighs 615 grams, and that's also pretty good for this size. It does not have a headphone jack, but it does have a micro SD card slot. I also like the fact that the power button has a built-in fingerprint reader. This is missing in rivals like the Galaxy Tab S7 FE. There's a USB-C 2.0 port on the right side, which unfortunately cannot be connected to an external monitor. It's interesting that you can record Full HD videos with the main camera only, whereas 4K videos are also possible with the front-facing camera. This is unusual, but I think it makes more sense for a tablet. Accordingly, the front camera's resolution of 13 megapixels is higher than the camera on the back, which offers 8 megapixels. Both are pretty good for a tablet. The display of the P12 is 12.7 inches in size, and it's a regular LCD. At 2944 by 1080 pixels, the resolution is very high, so text, photos and icons look very sharp. Much sharper than on the Honor Pad 8, the cheapest 12-inch tablet on the market at the moment, but also a little bit sharper than the Galaxy Tab S7 FE from Samsung. The display is a bit too dark for direct sunlight, but if it's cloudy outside, it's bright enough. It's fully laminated, the viewing angles are wide, and you can turn on a reading mode and blue light filter in the settings. You can also set the color temperature warmer or colder. We get a standard 60Hz display here, and as with many screens of this type, I noticed a jelly or rolling shutter effect when holding the tablet in portrait orientation and scrolling. This effect disappears at 120Hz, and for that you have to go for the Tab P12 Pro or even the smaller Tab P11 Gen 2. The latter has a little bit brighter display and even more stable viewing angles. On the other hand, the P12 has noticeably better speakers than the P11. We get a total of 4 here, and the bass is even a bit stronger than on the Samsung S7 FE. So it's a really good entertainment tablet due to the large and high resolution display and the good speakers. It also supports the necessary DRM standards, so you can watch Netflix and other streaming services with HD resolution. Included is an active stylus called the Lenovo Tab Pen Plus. As usual, it is completely made of plastic. It has a button on the side and a USB-C port, which is used for charging. Although it has a magnetic place on the back of the tablet, it's not charged that way. The stylus is significantly better than the Lenovo Precision Pen 2, which works with the P11 Gen 2, and similar to the Precision Pen 3 of the P12 Pro. That means the stylus comes pretty close to the S Pen. I think it's very good for handwritten notes, and it's okay for drawing as well. I gave the stylus to an artist, and she noticed that it's not as fast as a real pen. That's because of the 60Hz display. Lenovo has preloaded quite a bit of software for the stylus with Nebo, my script calculator, and a note-taking app called Notepad. And the apps work well. However, I think they are not quite as excellent as the Samsung Notes app. Nevertheless, I think it's great how much Lenovo improves this aspect from generation to generation. As I said, the stylus is much better than on the Tab P11 Gen 2 and works very well overall. We are also getting more and more additional features for the pen. Besides the apps, there are pen features that let you use the stylus as a magnifying glass and laser pointer, as well as for taking and cutting screenshots. I also think it's cool that you can use the stylus as a remote control in Microsoft PowerPoint and other apps like the camera. The Lenovo Tab P12 is powered by a MediaTek MT8791V processor with a total of 8 cores. Along with that, we get 4GB or 8GB of RAM and 128 or 256GB of internal storage. A version with LTE or 5G is not available at the moment, and I have the version with 8GB RAM and 128GB storage. Quite exciting is my Geekbench 5 benchmark comparison. Here, the CPU performance of the P12 is about on par with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 FE. However, Lenovo's compute performance is a good deal better. It's also vastly superior to the Honor Pad 8, and it's clearly better than the Lenovo Tab P11 Gen 2. The P11 Pro Gen 2 and P12 Pro are more powerful though. In the 3D Mark Wildlife test, the P12 is almost twice as strong as the Galaxy Tab S7 FE and Lenovo P11 Gen 2. At the same time, it's weaker than the P11 Pro Gen 2 and P12 Pro, and weaker than all current iPads anyway. So it's not a high-end gaming tablet, but you can play almost every game with this tablet, but not always with the highest graphics settings. I could play PUBG Mobile with HD and HDR graphics, but not with Ultra HD. It's nice and smooth with these settings, which is great. But sure, Ultra HD would be very nice on a large display. Simple games like Mighty Doom or Rise of Empires run very smoothly, but I could also play Asphalt 9 pretty well. It just does not look quite as fancy as on premium tablets. I did not notice at all that it's more of a mid-range tablet in terms of performance when doing office work. And I think that is largely due to the 8GB of RAM, which is a lot for a mid-range tablet. Multitasking works very nicely even if you quickly switch between several apps or have several apps open at the same time. Lenovo offers an official keyboard cover as an optional accessory, and as usual this consists of two parts. There's a back cover with a built-in folding stand, which you can also use without the keyboard. This allows you to place the tablet on a table to watch Netflix, for instance. You can also connect the keyboard via a magnetic connector then. I like the fact that not only the front and back are protected from scratches, but also the edges. That should be useful in case you drop it. Since we have a large size 12.7-inch display, the keyboard can also be large. It's significantly larger than it would be on a 10 or 11-inch device, and as a result, I was able to write on it almost as comfortably as on my laptop. The keyboard works pretty well, and I enjoyed writing with it. It's just a shame that you can't angle it and there's no backlight either. Below the keyboard sits a touchpad, which is also quite large for a tablet. The trackpad also works well. And the mouse is especially useful when you use the multi-window mode and floating windows or write text and want to switch between lines. Out of the box, the Lenovo Tab P12 runs Android 13. And in the past, Lenovo has been steadily improving how it handles updates, especially for these slightly higher-end devices like this one. And indeed, they promised 2 major version updates and 4 years of security updates, and that's great. We get the tablet-optimized interface of Android 13 here, which Google introduced with Android 12L. Of particular note here is the taskbar, which you can now see at the bottom within each app. This makes sense for a tablet, and it also means that the desktop mode is already built into Android now. And because of that, Lenovo's own productivity mode no longer exists. Well, I think Android 13 on the P12 is great. The taskbar is very useful, and you can quickly open 2 apps next to each other or even put a third and even a fourth one on top of that in a floating window. We get almost pure Google Android here, including all apps from Google and also including the entertainment space. There are a few more features, the one for the pen I already mentioned, and another interesting one is Lenovo Freestyle, which allows you to use the tablet as an external screen for your laptop. That P12 was a bit disappointing in my battery test. It only managed a runtime of 5.5 hours. For this test I always run in HD, YouTube video at maximum brightness in an endless loop, and I think the runtime is comparatively short because the display is so large and high resolution while being quite bright too. So, is the Lenovo Tab P12 a perfect tablet? No, of course it isn't. But in fact, I think the price-performance ratio is surprisingly good. Very good actually. Due to the good speakers and the large and high-resolution display, I consider it a great entertainment tablet. At the same time, the performance is good enough to play many games, not at the highest, but certainly at medium graphics settings. We also get almost pure Android, 2 version updates, a good stylus and keyboard, and features like a fingerprint scanner. The only pity is that the battery life is quite short. It's very well positioned against the competition. There's currently only one cheaper 12-inch tablet out there with the Honor Pad 8, but that one is also a good deal weaker in pretty much every aspect. Another competitor is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 FE, which is already 2 years old and is slightly inferior to the Lenovo in most points, except for battery life and S Pen. A pretty exciting alternative to the Lenovo Tab P12 is the Lenovo Tab P11 Pro Gen 2, which I also reviewed of course. It's slightly more expensive and has a smaller display, but it offers an OLED panel, a 120Hz display, a noticeably better performance, and you can also get it with a good pen and keyboard.